Hey guys, and welcome to the Hobby News. All right, so we've got the Las Vegas Open preview this week, and what a preview it is, really. You can see just from this image, there's a lot of juicy little treats for us for the future, and some really interesting ones. The one in the middle here is probably my favorite, but we're going to get into that pretty soon. So let's get started. So if we come across here, we'll go to my favorite one. So we're going to be looking at the Warcry release, and we've got these monastic vampires. Really cool. I really like the vibe that they're going with these, and even the corn stuff's really interesting. They've definitely got some, I guess, some new ideas or some new designers in the team that are sort of, throwing around a few different ways to portray some of these like classic archetypes in Warhammer. And it's really cool. It's very exciting for future Soulblight releases and so on later in the year when they get their book, and even for Khorne as well. It's really great. I really enjoy these kind of sub-game releases. I've said this many times, but the designers really seem to get a bit more leeway to do some interesting stuff. So let's get into this. So we've got the monastic vampires and fleshhound aficionados tear into Warcry. Yep. So not every warband that ventures into the Narwood does so to scavenge for artifacts in the ravening ruin of Talaxis. Some simply make a pilgrimage there to test their combat skills, slaughter powerful new foes, and shed gallons of lovely blood. So this is a good rivalry, these two sort of, blood drinking groups. And it makes for a good box, right? So we've got them facing off against each other in this new box they're bringing out, the usual thing that they do for these releases, and you'll get terrain and so on included. But these warbands are really cool. This is starting to feel more like a release like you get out of Underworld, so really much more flavoursome kind of idea for the warband, with a lot of unique models in the range. I mean, Warcry's always had a very good range of minis, but I've noticed the later warbands, they've really been hitting their stride with making them more individual per model rather than sort of having it sort of be like almost like a unit for Age of Sigmar. It's more its own thing, and stepping a little bit away from that type of idea, so you get a less generic mix. You've got each one is kind of its own little character, and I think that's great. And with this one, you really do see that. So we're going to have a look at it now. So yeah, these monastic vampires. So what a great bunch of minis. I mean, they've each got so much flavor and interest. We've got a lot of different ideas going on here. A lot of these ideas here, close to my own heart, my own brand, Blood of Gods. I play around with all of these sort of, I guess almost, what would you call this? Like sort of, I don't know, sort of like religious artifacts sort of things going on the back here, these sort of organic shapes that are sort of melded into the armor and I guess anatomy of the character, that have a sort of, ritualistic look, or these sort of almost Baroque type imagery, but in a more Gothic style, and just playing with shape language and giving it a sort of a different silhouette. And you're sort of seeing that here, these sort of bone-like or blade-like shapes that are coming in and out of this figure. And then you've got the sort of the shoulder pads here that set it up and give you this sort of frame for the face. I really like that sort of thing. I do that a lot if you have a look at my characters. And they're doing it here. So they're sort of drawing from I guess sort of ritual or these sorts of ideas from, let's say, earlier cultures, and actually fusing it onto the model. So not just being as an idea for them in their surroundings, let's say in a temple, but actually bringing the temple to them and having it part of the figure itself. And I think that's a really fun idea and makes for some interesting sculpts. So yeah, we've definitely got it here. And then you've got, even this one here with the, with the weapon flinging out to the side here, lots of animation, but he's got his own vibe too that's a little different from the main one here. So really interesting stuff. And then we've even got something different again, this sort of almost almost emaciated sort of vampire here that's definitely seen better days. I'm assuming they're all vampires in the unit. I would imagine so. But we've got this sort of almost bestial like one here, and then you've got your more classic style with the double-handed blade. But again, really nice, interesting attitude, nice face. I'm sure these models will turn up in many conversions. They definitely are piquing my interest for certain sorts of conversions. Will be really fun with these. really cool. And I love the overall color scheme too. If you have a look, we've got a lot of neutrals supporting bright colors, something I'm always talking about when I do my painting tutorials. If anyone's been watching them, you'll know this. This is a classic move to make the colors richer that you're seeing in front of you. We've seen this on a number of miniatures lately, you know, the use of these neutrals and blacks and so on to really push this main color. Here we've got a little bit of a blue-black going on, but if we even take a look back here, we've got some blue-black here, but there is actually a lot of neutrals happening around the model to help push that color forward. It's not a really vibrant blue-black. We've got neutrals on these ropes here. We have some neutrals in and around the figure, alongside these sort of brighter colors, the oranges, the reds, that help it basically to read on the figure, and it draws your eye to it. Even some nice magentas going back into the background here. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. Very, very good. You know, I also do love blue blacks, and I think that they contrast well here because it's the orange. You know, you got the blue and the orange together. That works. Yeah, and then we've got this really funky looking one here. So this is kind of the first time we've seen, I guess, a sort of almost werewolf type figure. We don't often see that in Warhammer minis, but we've got this transformation here. Back in the old days, if you remember old Warhammer Fantasy, the Strigoi, you know, they had that sort of idea going, that sort of almost werewolfish like or bestial like vampire, and here they're bringing it back in a slightly different way. Really, really interesting. You know, I think this is a cool mini. Like, definitely got some fun things like for you to paint on this, these sort of welts and so on, and the way the rib cage is going and the shoulder. It's a pretty interesting model. I'd like to see that in the flesh to see what sort of look it looks like on the other side. But yeah, really, really fun stuff. I'm really digging these a lot. Yeah, everything about them is great. Like, this is 100% for me. This you're definitely going to see this on the channel for sure. There's so much here that you could play with. I love the color scheme. I might even do it in these colors. It's a very fun one. So, you know, and then we've got the corn here. So we'll come down, and before I, you know, spend 20 minutes talking about vampires, the corn one is great. Like, I love the Underworld's warband, and you're most likely going to see that on the channel at some point. But these ones too are really great. I'm really loving the sort of, I guess, early tribal kind of priest-like vibes they're going for a lot of this corn stuff, you know, maybe Aztec or Mayan sort of influenced type of motifs that are in their armor and their headdresses and so on. And I love this, you know, with the hound mask, and it's got some more interesting vibes to it than the general corn models that you might see. I really like that. It makes them more personable somehow, or more human in some way, that you can relate. There's something about this that feels like it could be, you know, a culture in a world if corn was real. You know, like it's that sort of thing. And I really dig it. It's looking great. So yeah, we're now seeing, you know, obviously different genders. So we've got some like female and male types in this, which is also really cool to see. So, and also different ethnicities, you know, darker skin tones, lighter skin tones, and I think that's really cool. I actually do really enjoy some of these darker skin tones for corn. I think that's a really interesting way to do it, and you get some really cool, you know, ideas coming forward that aren't the usual. You know, in the old days, they would have all had like Caucasian skin, like lighter skin tones, but here we're getting some darker vibes, and I think that really suits corn a lot for some of these different sculpts. It's really cool. So yeah, this is a great one as well, and yeah, here again we're getting some transformation going on here into a more bestial form. That's a very hard thing to do in a human figure, by the way, if you're sculpting, to get a sort of an animalistic look that doesn't look sort of weird and sort of strange. So that's a real accomplishment, to get this to actually look like it's looking here. That's a really big deal for the sculptor. So, you know, congratulations for a sculpt at that. It's very hard to do that sort of thing and pull it off well, but we're seeing it here, and that's really great. Lots of good shapes for you to paint, so that's awesome. And then moving on, we've got again the different genders, and how we've got the female one here, you know, echoing that same motif in the headdress, but now on top rather than the full one. We've got the half mask, and that's really cool as well. You know, there's a lot of interesting ideas going on here. Again, neutrals, you see in the blacks here, some neutrals, not all blue blacks. We're getting some normal, you know, neutral grey blacks to support this sort of maroon purple color here, which is really great. That really makes that stand out a lot more, especially for the reds as well. Got a few little teals in here to contrast against the red. That's a really nice touch. yeah, I mean, just really great ideas. We've got some, oh, this is great. So we've even got some like transformations in the heads. So we're getting a kind of, oh, this is actually a mask. Okay, cool. So we've got like a bestial, the bottom half of the mask now with the top half of the head showing. Yeah, really great stuff. This is, yeah, a real step forward for Khorne. I feel like it's really giving you some interesting ideas to play with and mix into your both your Age of Sigmar stuff and also for 40k as well, because there's a lot of good conversion pieces here that you could use. So yeah, really cool. So let's move on. As you can see, you've got the box, the standard sort of terrain. We've got this gurish terrain with the sort of flesh plants here with the the little claws on the end and this sort of bamboo stuff. So that's all really good too. But now I think we'll move on and we'll come into the next one, which is really interesting. So for Kill Team, we've got some, it should be, is it Arbites, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Wait, Arbites? Yeah, it should be Arbites with Dark Eldar. So really cool. I think we knew these were coming before. A long time ago, there was a sort of a tip on this that this was coming ages ago. I seem to remember, listening on the internet, and it looks like here we are. I kind of feel like maybe these were meant for some other time, but they're here now. So in this box. So yeah, really cool. And yeah, it's great, right? The Kill Team adds that same sort of extra bit of flavor like Underworlds and Warcry does for Age of Sigmar. You're getting this for 40k, and I think it really needs it. This type of like smaller warband stuff where the designers get to really push the ideas is really important, because otherwise it gets a bit stale. You want to see the things that are going on. There's so many books, so many, as we all know, GW loves selling books, and there's a ton of novels out there with great writing in it, and Dan Abnett, etc. And you never really get to see a lot of that. So having this sort of thing is really important. So we're getting a great look into the sort of the Arbite, Judge Dredd sort of style of characters here, and these are good sculpts. These are all great. Like if you're really wanting to get into that part of 40k, this is a great place to begin. I can see a lot of good conversions for Necromunda, etc. There's all the things that you want are in this, and for third party skirmish games, one page rules games, etc. This type of warband here with these sort of Arbites is a really good warband to use for all those sorts of third-party games. They're perfect, right? It's for the sort of your sort of enforcers, space soldiers, etc. They're a really great one. Really nice ideas. And then obviously the doggo, you can't help but not love the doggo, right? That's all good. So yeah, really cool stuff. And then from there, it is definitely an Arbite squad, right? I'm not getting this wrong. I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is, unless the 40k lore has changed since last I looked at it. But anyway, then we've got the Dark Elder here, or the Drukhari. So these are great. We've seen some kill teams for Drukhari, but now we're getting another version. I think these are, what are these? Some sort of, Crimson Duelist, okay, Cabalite Warriors, So yeah, they're great. Like I'm really enjoying some of the designs they're doing for Drukhari, and I've painted my first elf, that was Lilith Hesperax, and I really enjoyed that. So you'll probably see another Drukhari on the channel at some point. I'll probably paint another one because it was actually pretty cool. I enjoyed it. I can say that now after all this time. I can enjoy painting an elf. It's all right, and they're pretty fun, right? I love the addition of the bird. Obviously, pet class is the best class, and having a bird in here is great. So that's all good too. And a nice use of colors here. That purple into the blues and everything is really good. I love these colors. Obviously, again, if you've seen anything on the channel, you know that these are right up my alley in terms of color scheme for sure. Really great, really beautiful stuff. So and then obviously you're getting, this is all for the boarding action stuff, right? So that's really cool. And now I think we'll move on to the next one, because there is a lot to get through here. So, and I've already been waffling on for a good few minutes. So let's get into the next one, which is a Narwood Underworlds warband. And so we're getting some Daughters of Cain now. So that's really cool. The sort of the serpent Medusa ladies are great, but it's cool to see some of the sort of more, I guess, elf-like or more humanoid-like aspects of the Daughters of Cain thing, and getting a few more characters for them. We've already seen one, they brought one out, but now we're getting a whole little warband of them. So for people that love Daughters of Cain, this is going to be really nice, because you're just getting a few more characters in that you can use for conversions, etc., or even use the warband itself for either Underworlds or AOS. They always come with those rules, but we're getting some nice little attitudes here, some different poses. There's nothing really crazy going on with these sculpts. They're pretty much in line with what's already there, but they are still really cool. They're probably the first time I've seen an Underworlds warband that is more like, as I was just saying before, the sort of earlier Warcry warbands where they're sort of more like a unit for AOS. This kind of feels a bit more like that, which is kind of weird because Underworlds generally have been really, each model has been super individual, and here we're getting more of a unit or squad type situation here, which is fine. It's all good. They're still very lovely sculpts, but it's unusual that it's flipped on its head. You've got the really interesting warbands in the Warcry one, and now we're getting a more sort of standardized version for the Underworlds one. I guess you can't get 100% every single time you sculpt one of these, right? I mean, I know I sculpt. It's very, very difficult to do that. You know, you're always struggling with the design and everything. It's a hard road being a sculptor and an artist for sure. But they're still great. Like they're all really beautiful. Yeah. All good. Okay, so now finally, I think, and obviously the cards and everything that you get for this. Now, finally, we'll move on to something quite interesting and an advance in a range that's had, it's a long time coming. I think we all know what that is. We've got some Seraphim or some Lizardmen coming through here to advance the range for some kits that have been around for an extremely long time. I was working for Games Workshop when a lot of these came out back in the old days, in the old golden times, the ancient times. And now we're seeing finally some updated minis, and they are really beautiful. They're great, and I think that any Seraphim player or Lizardman player is going to be very happy with this. And as Old World is coming, almost all of these models will be applicable for that as well. So you're going to see some really lovely Lizardman armies and so on for both game systems once Old World comes. This should satisfy both crowds quite well, I think. So let's come down and take a look. So a great new Slann. Like this is a cool model, right? There's a lot of third-party sculpts out there of Slanns which are also great, and this just falls in line with that. It's a really cool take on a Slann. We've got all the little bits and pieces around him that you would expect. It definitely fits in line with what they've already released in terms of the newer models, and it just feels good, right? You've got all the cool little elements. He's doing his thing with the little skink attached. It's a fun model, and any Lizardman player or Seraphim player is going to be down with this one for sure. Really, really cool. And then we've got these, which caught my eye. I really like this sort of the little lizard that he's riding here. The skink is riding. This is really cool. And I don't think they've actually had a unit like this before. So this could be totally new for Seraphim, I'm pretty sure. They don't have anything like this. So this is a kind of a fun one. This is like a new unit, basically. What does it say that they are? These are called Raptidon Hunters. Okay, so really interesting. I don't know how good they're going to be in AOS, or whether they'll even be needed, because the Seraphim range is, so competitive with what it's already got. New units, I don't know, like it's just adding, I guess, more cream on top, right? But they are really fun. I really like the design of the head here. It reminds me of that sort of raptor-like look, with the feathers and so on. That's really interesting. That's pretty cool. I think if you're a Seraphim player, you'd be very happy with this. This is a fun addition. Whether you'll use them in games or not, I don't know. But fast cavalry, light cav is pretty useful, especially if it's cheap. It'll be a good chaff unit, a good screening unit, especially if it comes in 5s and it's cheap, and maybe a I don't think it'll have a 4+ save, but 5+ saves all right. That's good. 2 wounds maybe. That'll be a nice cheap unit to use to screen things off. So really cool. And the color scheme's great. The red they're getting here is beautiful. Blending down into the oranges, the blacks. That's a really, really lovely color scheme. Moving into the teals and so on. It's very attractive. So they did a great job painting it, and the sculpt is cool. So that's just what a great preview, right? That's a really, really good mix of models. It's got a huge amount there for all different flavors of Warhammer that you like, and there's definitely those vampires are really scratching my itch, so that's great. But I'm sure there's something for everyone in there that's been looking at this. There's quite a lot here, so they're really pushing the envelope when it comes to showing off some great ideas and some new designs. So that's awesome. So I think we'll leave it there. This has been a really good one. I've enjoyed seeing all these previews. I hope you have too. There's more than what I've shown here, so go and check out the Warhammer community page and you'll see a couple extras. There's some Space Marine stuff there, but I'll leave that for another day. This has been a lot to get through, so I'm hoping that you're all still listening and I'm not just talking to myself. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.